We are here at the Montebello Islands. In the 1950s, they were chosen as the test site for Britain's first atomic bombs. This week, we visit ground zero of the biggest nuclear explosion ever tested in Australia. Are we in danger of radiation exposure? And what other perils will we encounter in our day-to-day existence on these remote islands? Welcome to Free Range Sailing. For those of you that are new here, I'm Pascal and this is Troy. For the last 4 years, we've circumnavigated Australia, culminating with a very demanding year refitting our 1969 Australian-built Clansman 30 sloop-rigged yacht and sailing her across the Great Australian Bight. Now we've returned to our home state, we're taking the time to explore some of the places we didn't get the chance to see as much of before. Join us each week for more great sailing, fishing and adventure as we cruise the West Australian coast. You've opened the last book of chocolate.
It's my last request. We're going to go and have a look at a nuclear test site. This could be the last bit of chocolate I ever get to enjoy.
Yeah, so we're just getting ready to go ashore. This is the site of the final atomic bomb that was blown up here on the Montebello Islands. There was 3 atomic bombs. The first one that we showed you in our first video in the Montebellos was the HMS Plym. That was a ship that was exploded off Tribble Island, and we're heading to, what's this island called? Alpha Island.
Alpha Island.
Yep, and this was the biggest explosion by far.
Yeah, so they used various platforms. So the Plym, the HMS Plym, they stuck a device there, but it ended up, because it was in the ship, it was 2.5 meters underwater, and it ended up making like a really big crater. You know, like it's about 6 meters deep. It's still there today. It's like a big bowl in the seabed. This one, they put it actually up on a tower, so it got a bit more of an air blast.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and have a bit of a look at it and see what it's all about. So I think 98 kilotons, and when I say kilotons, that's, if you don't know, kilotons refers to how much dynamite, you know, like 1,000 tons is 1 kiloton of TNT.
TNT, yeah.
What, dynamite? Yeah,
dynamite.
I'm an Akadaka fan. You know, so yeah, you can imagine what 1,000 tons of dynamite would do. Well, this was 98 of those, and that 98 kiloton yield, they told fibs about it.
Right. So we actually, it's really contentious when you look online. Some people say there was like approximately 60, because the British government promised the Australian government that they wouldn't exceed, what was it, 2.5 times the yield of the Hiroshima explosion?
Nuclear explosions were still in their infancy. You know, they only had Hiroshima and Nagasaki to go by. And so they were looking at that, and when the British government wanted to blow up the bombs here, ostensibly what they wanted to do was just see what the effect on structures would be. But really, I think what it was, that the Brits wanted to join everyone else at the nuclear bargaining table. You know,
yeah.
They wanted to say, we've arrived.
Yeah, we're here.
Nuclear debutantes.
We're just as fierce. Yeah.
So Australia didn't actually find out the truth of the matter, that it was 98 kiloton, until 1984, and quite a bit of radioactive material was actually spread across this part of Australia.
Yeah, well, it's actually like Northern Australia. They said that they picked up lots of radioactivity on Queensland, like Rockhampton, Mount Isa, from it. Yeah, it was supposedly a pretty dirty bomb. At that time, everyone was sort of overlooking the effects of nuclear bombs on Aboriginals. They were like, So that's all pretty rough. But yeah, so we're going to go ashore, see what it's all about. There are regulations, you know, saying limit your exposure to 1 hour. I think we're going to be all right. Like when you look at modern day Hiroshima and Nagasaki, people have been living there since, you know, like a year after the blast. So it's how many years later is it? Is it 70 years? 1956. Yeah, 56, I think. I think there was one in 54 and one in 56.
Yeah, so they were pretty dirty explosions.
Yeah.
But I think that we should be able to escape it without growing any more limbs. Well, this little orange box is a little geiger counter that we borrowed from our friends, just out of interest, you know. We're not too concerned. It says here, restrict your visit to 1 hour a day. The spider didn't get the memo. So at the moment, it's just showing what it is rather than the dose you've got, so you can have a look at the dose at the end of the walk. What was this on? Rogens?
Geiger? Oh, I don't know.
It's a geiger can, it doesn't measure in geigers.
We've got it beeping at 30 geigers. Not geigers, 30 Rogans. Gone down?
It went right down, like right when we got here.
Yeah.
It went down, so it was more
Up there.
out there. I like this this British and Australian understatement. Maybe above those considered safe for permanent occupation. Unless you're the guy that dug this little burrow under here, he's pretty happy. The geiger count is actually registering less here than all, on the ground as we were coming down.
On the rubble.
So I guess, it blasted out there, whereas at the centre it's not quite as heavy.
A British atomic weapon was test exploded above this point in 1956. So it was on a big tower.
Yeah, there was a tower that was above here.
I know, the wood swallow's just hanging out.
He doesn't mind.
Nah.
That metal wasn't here for the test, so I guess they would have had this lifting point choppered in. It's not like you want to sit here mixing up aggregate, is it?
No.
So as you go out from here, it goes up again.
Yeah, right. Going up?
Yeah. As we're going away from the tower, and that's what they said. Like when these things were popped, they were saying it was a pretty dirty explosion. Still, this metal here, so that it's still less than what we saw up there. But
what was the highest we saw up there? I don't think I got it.
72.
On film. 72.
72.
Wow.
But I mean, they did a good job of blowing everything up.
Yeah.
I guess that's the point. And now that we've come further away from the blast, what would you say that is there, Pasky? 60 metres?
61. Yeah, 60 metres.
No, 60 metres from the pyramid.
Uh-huh.
So it's way more there.
Yeah.
Walking around the crater, these were the highest Roentgen levels we found.
I guess we're out of the crater.
Mm.
So this was that. It was 22 when we landed on the beach over the other side.
And now what is it, 21? Yeah.
Yeah, so outside of that actual crater.
Very little.
Very little. Not registering much at all though, so this would have copped the blast, but it's not radioactive anymore.
Once we were back at the beach, we were careful to wash away any dust. It is more dangerous to carry radioactive particles with you than to be just briefly exposed to radiation.
So that was measuring the radiation as we were going,
Yep.
and then that's the cumulative dose over the whole time, which is why they're like, don't hang around too long.
Yeah.
Recently we noticed on the outboard, well among other problems that it's had, recently I noticed that the overboard discharge, the little telltale that comes out the side, was just getting a bit weaker and I thought I might do a bit of preventative maintenance. So I've gone ahead and pulled off the gearbox and replaced the impeller. We just did a time lapse. It's a really simple job and cruisers should know how to do it. Up in one of these corners, Pasky's just going to put a link to another video we did in Torres Straits where it goes into a bit more detail, but essentially it's just pulling off the gearbox and then there's a housing and in there's the impeller and you just take it off. But we can see now, if we look at this is the rubber impeller. There's a little keyway there, so it goes on a shaft and it stays put. But you can see that these fins, even though I took them out an hour and a half ago, they're still holding the exact same shape. So these guys have pretty much lost a lot of their elasticity. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but anyway, they're not bouncing back, whereas these ones are. So this thing was only delivering, you know, like 3/4 to a half of its capacity to cool the engine. So it was a good thing, just as general maintenance. Had a bit of a lazy day and we pulled that off. But it's something that really, like, if you've got an outboard engine with your boat, it's probably something that you should do. It's a really simple task. You definitely shouldn't be outsourcing it to the outboard mechanic. And if you go cruising, being able to replace the impeller on your main engine and your outboard is probably a good thing. If you don't know, maybe take steps to figure it out. Such a little thing, but it can leave you stranded if it breaks.
We're going our own separate ways this morning. There's quite a few catamarans in the anchorage, and we're going diving with, I'm going diving with some of our friends at this little spot that Troy's actually already been to, but he said it's definitely worth a look, so I'm going to go check it out with our friends. And Troy is taking Rob on a mission to get some food, because the Kiwis are short on seafood.
They are short on seafood. I think Rob's sort of Rob and the boys are sort of new to spearing, so we can probably just talk about a few techniques and stuff and see if we can improve their aim.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the results when I get back from my dive.
Him. What have I forgotten? Nothing.
In fact, there is something quite important that Troy has forgotten. Can you spot them? Whilst abundant with fish, filming at the Montebello Islands is often difficult due to the poor visibility. Strong tidal flows between the low-lying limestone islands results in sediment being lifted and distributed in the water around the islands. At times, diving down deep can be quite a spooky affair. The lack of visibility meant that we had to be especially careful while filming and spearfishing. Sea creatures on the seafloor and in caves had the potential to hurt us in alarm if we unsuspectingly lay on top of them trying to get a shot. Some of them really are masters of camouflage. Taking a torch down with us into the deeper caves illuminated the beautiful colours of these sun corals. Sun corals are not photosynthetic, instead extending long tentacles at night to feed on passing zooplankton.
Look at that Kiwi headshot. Holy! Man and his fish.
We're back.
Yeah. So, Pascal, I want you to guess which one I caught. So, did I catch this?
Fish number A.
Oh, yep, speared through the ice.
Yeah.
It's rough, isn't it?
Or did I catch? Or did I catch?
Speared through the tail.
We call that the Kiwi headshot.
The Kiwi headshot, says Troy. That's how you catch a trout, everyone. Go for the tail.
Go for the tail.
We never stood a chance. So many people appreciate the skill involved in getting a trout right in the tail.
Like, there was a lot of skill. So what happened was, I was lining up a fish exactly like this. No, I'm not kidding. It's probably even bigger than that. And I aimed and I pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And this one darted in front of it. Seriously.
I believe you.
Yeah. Just ridiculous.
Poor old fishes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of trout there.
And it put up a hell of a fight, and I thought, here come the sharks.
Nah.
Nah,
No sharks.
No sharks. So we're sort of sitting out it's not very strong winds. Troy's gone out spearfishing with a mate, and I've just been at home doing a whole lot of chores. This is basically what I'm doing. Oh, they're here. So he's back. It's always one way to bring them home. Turn a camera on. Oh, and also to get the radio going as well. So yeah, if we're not filming or editing or out walking and exploring or sailing, then I'm normally at home doing chores. So yeah, at the moment the laundry got away from me a little bit. It's been about a week and a half since I've done any hand washing, so I'm just doing some hand washing. Troy's been making a lot of water lately because it's been really windy and sunny, so we've got enough water to do some hand washing. I try and minimise how much water I use. I probably used about 6 litres to do 7 or 8 pairs of jocks and some shorts and things like that, but we try and re-wear the same clothes over and over again so we don't just have a big pile of dirty laundry. We don't actually know when we're next going to be in a town, so yeah, we've got to do some laundry, otherwise we run out of things to wear. And also the tea towels get pretty dirty too. I'm on the rinse cycle. So the way that I've been doing it to minimise water is I've been putting bicarb water in and then a little bit of vinegar, and that seems to lift a lot of the dirt off the clothes. And then I just squeeze out all the clothes out as best I can, and then just put a couple more litres in the sink and give everything a rinse. And the water's not coming out too dirty from this rinse cycle, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Right, it's a little bit noisy for actually talking to a camera, but we've got to make some water. We're starting to run a bit low, so I've left the wind generator running as well, because we want to make as much power as we can. At the moment, we're just going to have a look. I've put what's called a Swell bridle. We've covered that before, but it's been a while ago, so we'll just have another look. This is the perfect place for a Swell bridle. We've got really good cover from the prevailing conditions, but we've got a southerly sea out there that's just wrapping around the rock wall that we're using for protection. And if we were just perfectly hanging to the wind, we'd roll. It would hit us side on. I've put a little Swell bridle there, an anchor bridle on, and what it's done is it's actually pointed us into the swell instead of pointing into the wind. The secondary benefit of it is, of course, that I'm using a solar blanket. The way I've orientated the boat, it's just getting more sunlight hitting it, so it's a added benefit. It's why I wanted to do it. It wasn't just a case of not spilling my morning coffee. I wanted to get a bit more sun. So the main thing about the Swell bridle is we've got this this heavy line. It's actually our spinnaker line, and I've run that off a sheet winch, and it's going forward, and I just used a rolling hitch. So the rolling hitch is here, it's attached to the actual anchor rod itself. But because I don't want the anchor rod to come out through the bow roller, I've used this sacrificial green line, and that just goes from the cleat straight onto the anchor road. And then of course the HDPE tow rail is a very low friction surface. But you can see here, like as we let it all out, that you know, the bridle itself, it's called that because it's got two legs to it. And it goes, one going back to the sheet winch, one going to this forward cleat. It just changes the angle of attack that the wind's hitting. Instead of hanging by a bow, we've brought it back, you know, the point of contact, and it's holding the boat sideways to the wind and the bow into the swell. Really, really simple, and definitely a technique that you should know getting around in a boat.
Troy's just gearing up to get in the water because yesterday when we were packing up our Swell bridle, we let the rope drop into the water. That was part of the bridle. So Troy's going to go find it. It's actually our spinnaker line. It does double duty, so we're going to go find it. I should say he's going to go find it, not me. With a speaker. You were coiling, were you?
Yeah.
Big success.
It was good. Yeah, I found where the chain scars were before.
Yep.
Swam there and then just started going backwards. But I just pulled the zipper back up. I thought, oh, it's going to be a long search. I might need to stay warm. And then found it. So that's pretty good. And now the hull's clean as well, so that's pretty good.
We haven't scrubbed the hull since
Ever.
the anti-foul.
No, we haven't. No, I didn't even need to scrub it then. I just used like a banister brush, you know, like a dustpan brush, soft bristle.
Yep.
And just knocked the dust off, and there was a few little, I don't know what they are, there's just a soft patch of brown jelly.
Yep.
So I was able to just sweep them off, and everything looks pretty good. Not much dust came off, you know.
Yep.
All those sea lice, we got rid of all those passengers.
Sea lice, yeah. I've noticed some of them when we pull up the anchor.
They'll be in my beard for sure. But
Cool.
yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. Just as soon as we eat more bacon.
Bacon.
Homemade bacon. If you're not already making bacon,
Should be.
you should be. The store-bought stuff doesn't compare.
Bango. Woohoo! Beautiful, doll. Get it on board. Well, sometimes we turn fish frames into stock. If we have sharks that are resident in the anchorage, we are quite willing to share our catch for a little bit of a show, no matter whose boat we are on.
He is pretty. He's game, isn't he?
See how hot he was coming up behind the boat?
Yeah.
He's like, ooh.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Wow. If you enjoyed the video, hitting the like button helps to get this video suggested to like-minded people. Thanks in advance and see you next time.